We resume our story in Damovod's Molkovia. Despite his strong conviction, his steps still faltered slightly when he felt his stomach rumbling a few times, reminding him of the fact that the last time he ate was the previous day. Although he usually ate much less in his current life for obvious reasons, even skipping meals at times. His body was now clearly reminding him that it still needed a minimum amount of sustenance. Feeling a sense of sluggishness, both mentally and physically, along with a voracious hunger, Damian quickly decided to change his plans. After moving toward the kitchen, he prepared what was usually considered a heavy meal for himself, before digging into his plate, devouring the dish as if he had been starving for weeks. In a few moments, the moderately full plate was now squeaky clean, though the young man was still feeling famished. Patting his flat stomach, Damian's brow furrowed while he thought. Eating that much should have made me bloated, but I only feel 1/3 full. Isn't my superpower using the food as fuel for my physical improvement? Shaking his head slightly, he decided that it was something that could only be discovered with more experimentation, and thus went toward the kitchen counter again, cooking twice the previous amount of food before bringing everything to the dining table and resuming his meal. This time, after finishing the last crumb in his plate, the feeling of hunger had completely disappeared, leaving him full, though his belly was barely bulging. Sensing his own state, Damian felt more and more convinced of his own guess. My digestion is obviously growing more efficient. Aside from that, it's very faint, but I can feel some traces of energy appearing all over my body. Equalized adaptation. It should be that superpower at work, making me stronger with every external stimulus. Now feeling even more curious about how powerful those gifted perks of his were, the young man started walking towards the penthouse gym, located on the first floor, deeper into the building. Pushing the door open, Damian's gaze fell on the previously hidden room behind. For a private gym, it was clearly enormous. Way larger compared to what he could have imagined in his previous life for a single penthouse. With some quick calculation, Damian found that around 1/3 of the first floor was solely taken by this room, and the floor was anything but small. Truly, his previous lack of money limited his imagination. With a wry smile on his face, a thought traversed his mind. The poor and the rich really live in different worlds, huh? Falling into a brief daze, the young man then set that thought to the side while admonishing himself. Why are you moping around them? You're not rich, so stop thinking about money and instead use it to grow stronger even faster. Now a bit more clear-minded, Damian then started looking around, trying to find the best way to start his workout journey without injuring himself. The good news was that his equalized adaptation powers effects were pretty incredible, allowing for general strengthening of his body while only exercising one part of it. In other words, even if he only trained one arm, every muscle in his body would gain some improvement, though the extent needed to be investigated further. The bad news, however, was that his strength was so low that he was not even sure he could lift a 1 kilo dumbbell more than 10 times before his stamina ran out. After a few seconds of contemplation, he had to accept reality and go to the dumbbell rack to get one of the 2 1 kilo dumbbells placed there. Starting with the treadmill may have also been a good alternative, but he had a guess that needed to be verified first. Feeling an unexpected tension as his hand grabbed onto the weight, He stopped moving for a second before muttering under his breath. The moment of truth. Lifting the metal lump from the rack, the young man felt a brief moment of disorientation, as what should have been extremely light actually felt heavy in his hands, though not to the extent he had feared previously. Letting out a sigh of relief, he thought, "Might not be as bad as I thought." Now reassured, Damian started his set, lifting the weight with his left arm until his muscles felt both too weak and too painful to move. With sweat running down his entire body and his chest panting heavily, an expression filled with both frustration and happiness appeared on his face as he exclaimed inwardly, 30 sets instead of the 10 I was expecting? I really don't know if I should be happy or disappointed. No matter how unwilling, reality was reality, and complaining about it would not change anything. Instead, it was better to do what he could to make the best out of it. Thus, after recovering some energy, Damian quickly grabbed the dumbbell with his right hand this time and started once again. Similarly, his limit was reached at 30 sets, though he did notice a slight ease compared to the previous time. Usually, an average person working out would have their muscles filled with blood, the so-called congestion, giving rise to an inflated sense of strength. Thus, Damian could not rely on the feeling of his body, but instead had to use his performance to find out if he experienced any change, positive or negative. In this case, it seemed that, though slight, his strength seemed to have grown a trace after only performing one set of exercise. It may sound very little for the layman, but for the professional, it was actually massive. A slight growth usually took weeks or even longer to show, depending on the person. Feeling an improvement after one set, that was downright monstrous. As a surge of excitement washed over his heart, the young man plunged into his first workout session, doing his best to squeeze his body as much as possible so the benefits he received from his power would be maximized. Minutes passed by, with the young man falling into a trance-like rhythm, where each period of weakness and exhaustion was followed by a trace of growth. It felt never-ending and particularly exhilarating, especially for someone like him who had always been used to a certain degree of physical capability, but had now been reborn into a body that previously could not reach even the lowest average male standard. The most exciting thing, however, was knowing that it was not a one-time thing, and no matter how powerful it became, that sort of growth speed would be maintained. Actually, it may even become faster, as the adaptation word in his perk's name meant that his body would grow faster with stronger stimulation. Truly a fitting effect for an extraordinary superpower. An hour later, while he was gasping for breath on the floor, trying to regain his stamina, he suddenly heard the door open, prompting him to move his gaze towards it. There, Seraphine was now standing with a look of concern on her face as she asked, "Damian, are you okay? You didn't hurt yourself working out, did you? Mom and Bryn will chew you out if you did." Her words brought mixed feelings to his heart, warmth for her concern, and slight frustration for the lack of trust. Still, he could not blame her, as he was more than aware that her worries were completely valid, or at least they used to be before he woke up a few hours ago. Slightly short of breath, he exclaimed. I'm still alive and kicking, sir. Well, maybe not kicking, but I'm fine overall. Just resting a bit to get my energy back. Anyway, I think I've done enough for today. I gotta pace myself, after all. Hearing his light-hearted words, she let out a few giggles, her anxiety all but melting away thanks to his explanation, prompting her to joke. Let me guess, you're now lying on the ground, all sweaty and stinky, looking like you've run a marathon when you've barely lifted a few light weights? With a wry smile on his face, Damian answered. You're spot on. You could have put it more nicely, though. I mean, I may not be a lady, but I've still got feelings, you know? Seeing how she could not win against him, the petite redhead simply opted to change the subject. Joke aside, do you need any help? With the smell and stickiness of his sweat covering his entire body becoming somewhat unbearable, while his limbs had stopped responding to his commands, he exclaimed enthusiastically, though with a hint of exhaustion lacing his voice. Yes, please. I forgot to bring a towel and a bottle of water. So, if you could grab one of each for me, you'd be an angel. To be honest with you, I just can't move my limbs. At least not if I don't want to experience the feeling of having lava poured into each of my muscles. Shaking her head, with an amused grin hanging on her lips, she retorted before leaving the room. Such a drama queen. Alright, don't move. I'll go get them. With a pained expression, Damian mumbled. Oh, if I could move, would I need you to bring me those things, you silly woman? 2 minutes later, she finally came back with water and towel in her hands, walking in his direction through his own guiding voice. Once she reached him, she handed him the water bottle and towel before commenting, her nose wrinkling slightly. God, you stink! You'd better take a shower and clean up after yourself before Big Sis arrives, or she'll be pissed. Rolling his eyes, he retorted. Now, who is the drama queen? Anyway, that was my plan from the start, so no need to worry. I think I'll take a shower first, though. I'll give my body some time to recover some stamina. Otherwise, even the mop might be able to take me out. The two broke into a fit of chuckles, though Damian quickly regretted it, as his abdominal muscles were quick to make him pay the price for such foolishness. Hearing the painful grunts coming from the young man, Seraphine immediately understood his predicament and said softly, You better take more care of yourself, Dumbo. I've been worried enough about you for a lifetime. If anything happened to you, Her tone was hesitant and filled with some indescribable emotions, though she was quick to hide it behind a seemingly light-hearted comment before she left the room. Anyway, just be careful from now on. And when you're done with cleaning the place, go make some lunch, alright? I'm starving. While his gaze followed her receding figure, a strange feeling appeared in Damian's heart, which he chose to dismiss quickly, as the most important thing for his current situation was power. As for the rest, it could wait for a while longer.
The fortune lady told my mama before I saw the sun, said your boy's gonna love too hard and break more than one. He gonna make sweet women laugh and cry, in a whole wide world ask him why.
Feeling some strength returning to his body, he slowly pushed himself from the ground, twisted the cap off the 1 liter water bottle, and downed its contents in a few gulps, feeling suddenly refreshed. Being able to eat and drink a lot was truly becoming one of his favorite features from his powers, whether it was the ingesting or converting part. Now, feeling much better, he wiped his body with a towel and started walking toward the entrance, his goal being his own bathroom on the 2nd floor. While walking slowly, his muscles were screaming in protest from his poor treatment, though the pain was receding ever more quickly with each second that ticked by, leaving both exhaustion and contentment behind. Also, a level of hunger beyond what he had experienced an hour prior, prompting him to decide to eat some lunch before moving on to the gym cleaning project, unless he wanted to faint from starvation. Once he arrived in his bathroom, he removed his clothes and walked into the shower before turning it on. Then, as the hot water fell on his sensitive skin, he muttered with delight, "This is heaven."
The fortune lady told my mama before I saw the sun, said your boy's gonna love too hard and break more than one. He gonna make sweet women